What's up, guys? Welcome to my backyard. So today we are gonna get interactive and we are gonna do a dynamic warm-up for a squat day. How fun. So go ahead and grab your mat. Let's go ahead and get started. So when it comes to squats, I definitely always like to start with the dynamic warm-up. Now, I always start off with this knee hug and I like to walk it out. So I'll start over here and I start with a walking knee hug to loosen up the body. Do that back, and do a foot to butt stretch. You'll feel the quad stretch, and my quads are sore, so I feel that. And you can also raise your other hands in the air, so that way you get a nice interior stretch along the front of your body. Interior means front. All the way. Go ahead and do the same thing back. Next, I like to do a hamstring stretch. So I'm gonna start back here again. You kick one foot up in the air while you reach with your other foot. So you don't want to focus on just kicking high and sloppy. You want to focus on keeping your knee straight, feeling your hamstring back here, even if that means you're only kicking that much. Do it neatly and do it like you mean it. So none of this. Instead, with your foot flexed, you might have to go extra range because you got big steps with these. And back. Keeping them neat, keep that knee locked out. Cool. Next, I like to go for this hinge hamstring stretch. I don't really know what it's called, but that's what I'm gonna call it. So go ahead and start back at the beginning of your space, mat, whatever it is. You're going to put one foot out on your heel while the other leg is bent and you're on the full foot. Next, here's the hinge part. Go ahead and hinge the hips. Here's your hands. You wanna go back and around, coming up, and boom. As you hinge and come back and around, you're gonna feel the hamstring of that straight leg that your toe is off the floor. So again, and all the way up, go ahead and switch sides by taking a step forward, hinge back at the hips, fix your leggings, and then back and around. Try not to let your back round as you do this. You don't wanna go, I don't know, you don't want any of that. Keep it neat, take your time, make sure you keep it moving. Hinge, reach back, up and around. You repeat that for all of the steps, boom, back and forth. Next, I like to do a world's greatest stretch, a good way to stretch out the hips. So I'm going to walk myself out. I'm going to bring one leg up, and then I like to switch it out. Times on each leg here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and bring a leg up. I'm gonna bring one elbow, try to go near the floor, and then come up and around and look at the sky for a second. Go ahead and come down. Go ahead and switch legs. Same thing, elbow down. It doesn't have to touch the floor, but if it can, that's cool. Up and around, boom. You're gonna feel a stretch in that glute and it's gonna feel so good. Up and down, switch sides, down and up, boom. Again on the other side. And I can already feel the hips loosening up. My body's warming up for sure. Down, look up at the sky, boom. From here, you can go ahead and go on your knees because we're gonna be on the floor now. Now, we're gonna do some dynamic stretches to get the inner thigh muscles and the hip flexors. So, go ahead and start by going into this kneeling position. Make sure that you tuck in your hips and then hands on your hips, big chest. You're gonna rock yourself forward. Keep it moving, keep it dynamic. And each time you go forward, keep your ribs to your hips come in together. So don't try to arc your lower back. Keep them in. Because the more you keep them in, the more you're gonna feel a stretch here, and that's exactly what we want. Push those hips forward. Let's do this a few times. I always kind of like to keep my hands on my hips to make sure that I keep my hip bones tucked under, or sometimes here, so that way I can feel if my lower back is arcing. It just helps keep me in check. And then we'll go ahead and switch. Again, same checkpoint. Tuck the hips under, and then go ahead and rock yourself forward. Big chest, breathe. Cool. So we got some of that in. If you want to take this stretch to the next level, what I would suggest is for balance, grab a stick. Comes in handy. Go ahead and go on that first side again. You might want to grab an extra pad because sometimes this one might hurt the knee if your mat is thin. So grab a thicker pad or another mat. You can also fold the end of your mat. Stick for balance. So same rule applies here. Go ahead and tuck those hips under. Then you're gonna grab that back foot and ooh, do you feel a mean stretch in that rectus femoris? You can also go ahead and rock. You can see that I feel this. Again, I'm a little sore, but on a normal day, this wouldn't feel like this. You can rock it back and forth, or you can just hold it a little bit and you can feel that muscle stretching. That's if you need an extra stretch to it. I always don't do that unless I feel it would be necessary for the day. So there's that. Repeat on the other side. From here, what I like to do is now I like to go into my inner thigh stretch. So we're gonna go into a frogger stretch here. So go ahead, knees and hands with your feet out. Go ahead and bring those knees out. Let's go ahead and start by rocking back and forth. This is gonna open up those inner thighs. Think of this position, especially when you're down here, of the end position of your squat. So it helps to warm this up. Makes it easier to open your hips when you're at the bottom of that position. Deep breaths. Try to push yourself a little bit more and a little bit more deeper each time you're at that bottom position. Then we're gonna go ahead and bring the knees in just a tiny bit, and you're gonna prop up onto your toes so that way your big toe can get some mobility work too. Go ahead and rock back and forth. You can also switch the position of your wrists. This is awesome if you know you're gonna do front squats for the day, so that way you get some front squat dynamic mobility in. One of my go-tos when I know I just wanna do front squats for the day. I love front squats. I think I like them more than back squats. Sorry. Cool. To get the inner thighs just a little bit more, because this is one of my favorite warm-ups to be honest, go ahead and bring one foot out. You want to be straight from hip, knee, all the way down to toe. Go ahead and do the same thing, but now one leg is just out. So on your hands, go ahead and rock back and forth, kind of hinging back at the hips almost, and coming up. You're gonna feel that stretch even bigger now that you're focusing on one leg. And that's good because you can focus on one leg at a time. Feel it all the way throughout that adductor. Go for this a few times. I'm also, I don't know if you guys can see, I'm propped up on my big toe back there so my big toe can get some mobility. If you want, you can do the wrist thing again, put them backwards. You can also put them inside, outside, different positions to get your wrists warmed up. Go ahead and do this on the other side. You're straight all the way from hip, knee to toe, propped up on my big foot, hands on the floor, hinging back. Oh, I can really feel that first one. And deep breaths as you rock back and forth. Awesome. Next, we're gonna go into our hip 90-90. This is a fun one. I say that so sarcastically. People don't really like this, but you will once you start squatting and you're squatting like butter. So, to begin, you're going to get into a position where your one leg is out in front of you, bent at 90 degrees. The other leg is out to the side of you, bent at 90 degrees. Both legs together also make 90 degrees, so hence so much 90-90. If you have never done this before, you can go ahead and just get into the position for the first time or first few times and just hold it. ISO 90-90. ISO just means isometric. That means literally just holding it in position and letting your body sink into it. If that is you, who you're never really done this before, it's feeling kind of tight, you might notice that you're off to the side like this. You can't really sink down into the position because, trust me, it does take practice. I didn't get here just overnight. My hips are notorious for being just locked and tight and feeling like cement. So you're gonna have to honestly sit here for a while, and that's okay. I would suggest holding it for probably like 30 seconds to 45 seconds to maybe until you get into a minute, and then switching and doing it on the other side. So my experienced people with this, or more mobile, is you're going to take that back leg, hands can either be here or back behind you. Go ahead and come up until that other leg starts to kick in. You're going to visit the bear position like this. That other knee, this one, is still following the movement, and you're gonna fall into that other side like this. So now I'm literally doing the same thing I was before. I'm just doing the other side. The other leg is in front and this leg is on back. Same thing. So again, if you are a beginner, go ahead and get into this position. You don't have to do the transition part. Just get into it, hold it, get used to it. Then when you start to get better, you can add the mobility piece. So let's go back to the other side. And we'll do hands here this time. Start with the back leg, let it rotate up, let your other leg follow, but leading with that front leg, and fall into the other side. And I like to do this pass a few times to really warm up the internal and external rotation at the hips. It's important for a squat. So as you do this movement, you definitely want to make sure that you don't start to move forward as you do it. Keep up, make sure that chest is up. You will really feel it in your hips. And if you've never done this before, it's okay if you start to feel a cramp somewhere in that like back leg. That's totally normal. That means pathways are creating in your body that haven't really been used in a while, and now they're just like, whoa. It's okay. Go ahead and come out of the stretch, let that cramp subside, and then you can try it again. If you're cramping too much, it's okay. Give it a break. You can always try it tomorrow or another time. To add another mix into this, you can go ahead and lean forward. You're gonna feel a nice glute stretch there. Lean forward, glute stretch, and then go into the other side. Glute stretch, and keep going. You'll notice, just like I am, that I'm traveling forward. It's totally normal. If that happens and you start bumping into things like I am, just scoot back. Lean forward. And take it at your own pace. You don't have to do it super fast. Do it at a pace that feels good for you. You can also lean over on the other side of the knee of that front leg into like this pretzel position. And then mobilize, mobilize. Just move into the other side. Again, pretzel position. Next, let's go ahead and do some ankle mobility drills. So to begin, if you have tight ankles like I do, then this is gonna be fun. Let's go ahead and start by, first of all, taking one hand, the hand that's on the same side of that bent knee in front, putting it on top of your toes. Next, I'm gonna move my view. You're gonna hold the ankle and you're gonna track your knee over your toes while making sure that this heel stays on the floor. If it comes off, you're cheating. No, you wanna get as much ankle dorsiflexion, so that's flexion of this ankle over your toes, as much as possible. That is ankle mobility here. Stretch there, I'm feeling it in my calf here. It might be normal that you could feel it in the front. I mean, that's just you. Everyone's a little bit different. And try to track that knee right over your third and fifth toe, because preferably when you squat, that's kind of where we want to see the knee tracking over in that movement. Deep breaths. Go ahead and give this a few good reps. If you can, I would advise you to do this with your shoes off so all of your toes can really grip the floor. Feel for it, get good perception of it. It will better help you when you actually go to the squat. You can put your shoes back on for the actual squat workout, but if you can warm up and you're comfortable with it, you're in a nice clean facility, I encourage you to try it out because it does have benefits. And there are muscles on the bottom of your feet that could definitely get strengthened. They help you out. They help keep your body up. Then go ahead and do that on the other side. Same hand, so one in front, goes on the toes, other hand goes on the heel. Go ahead and track your weight and your knee over your third and fifth toe. Deep breaths. Try to feel that stretch. It's okay to move yourself around, kind of feel for what feels best. You see that I kind of move myself around with every rep. Boom. Another thing you can do, if you are known for having, or you know that you have really tight ankles and poor ankle mobility, another thing that you could also try is called the banded distraction. I personally do this when I squat, and when I do it, I do feel a little bit better. So you're gonna put a band around something sturdy, so my rig here. You're going to put your ankle inside the band, and you're gonna grab some tension on the band. So the end of the band where your foot is, you wanna put it right where your ankle is, right here. Go ahead and kneel, make sure it's on there. Same exercise, same technique almost. I hold my feet here, and this thing just helps keep my foot in place because I have really tight ankles. So even when I'm holding it from down here, sometimes it still comes up. So it's another support there that keeps this down while I force my knee over and kind of just work on the mobility. You can also put a kettlebell here and push yourself down into that position. Feel for what feels comfortable, and boom. As I do this, since I have my shoes off, my toes can really feel for the floor. And it just feels good as my toes can naturally grip the floor. I feel my muscles working better. When I squat with no shoes on, I do feel like the squat is a lot smoother because my feet can actually use the muscles in there to do the job. Again, can't do that all the time because you don't want to be doing that at some place. It's kind of gross, but I'm at home, it's a-okay. Or at my training facility, it's pretty neat. Commercial gym, I wouldn't do that. So that's your banded distraction. You would repeat that on the other side. So next what I like to do is then I like to practice some of my actual squats. So this is where my kettlebell comes in handy. You can also use a plate or a dumbbell, but I prefer kettlebells here and I have one, so I'm gonna use it. I like to do a squat with a counterbalance here into a deep squat. So you'll see the sequence right now. This is like my go-to sequence, and it's been my go-to sequence for a while. So dumbbell is up. I'm gonna go ahead and get into a good squat stance. I'm gonna start off in the goblet position, but as I squat down, I'm gonna go ahead and put this out in front of me and come back. See how I'm able to keep my chest up, heels on the floor, knees stay out, open up the hips, and come up. I usually do this about 8 to 10 times. Hold for a second here. Make sure you look out in front of you, and back up. Without this kettlebell and without a proper warm-up, I personally tend to just fall forward. So I'm very hip dominant in my squats. So this allows me to keep my chest up so that I can fall into a good position. Let's say I'm at the last one in the set. That's where I come here and I fall into a deep ass to grass squat. From here, you can see that my knees are inside, my elbows are inside my knees, and I push my knees out to then get an even deeper inner thigh stretch. I also rock back and forth, and I try to keep my head up. Remind myself of that. Hold this for maybe like 10 seconds. And then go ahead and stand up. I'll do that about 1 or 2 more times. I don't like to tire myself out too much. And then I will be ready to then go into maybe like 1 set of my PVC pipe, back squat or front squat, whatever I'm gonna do. This just warms me up to get something up here so that I can get into my squat, or I can load it up in front if I'm gonna do a front squat for the day. Boom, even a Zercher squat. Boom, I might do just, I'm gonna do like 5 of those. And then you're ready to get under the bar.